Who's this?
Mark Bremer, Executive Director of the Screenwriters Guild of America.
Nice to meet you, Bremer. Get the hell out. This is not a union lot.
Your writers have every right to organize, Mr. Brady.
They just organized me out of a day of rehearsal.
It was a protest. We don't believe you have the right to arbitrarily cut the incomes of your employees like that.
It wasn't arbitrary. It's what the studio can afford to pay right now. Meanwhile, you're jeopardizing the jobs of people who can't afford to be out of work like you can.
Hi, everybody. I'm Peter Travers, and welcome to Popcorn, where we tell you what's popping in the culture. And there is a show now on Amazon called The Last Tycoon. There's a lot to say about it, but my guest, Matt Bomer, is playing the lead in this, Monroe Starr, who is, in the 1930s, a major sort of production head who wants quality in motion pictures. So, of course, I wish that Monroe Starr would come back and live now. But I have you, Matt, so welcome to the show.
Oh, it's good to be here. It's an honor to be here with you, truly.
Well, we'll see. You know, you might be tossing popcorn everywhere. I have no idea. But tell me about how you got involved in this, because I was saying before, this is a book F. Scott Fitzgerald wrote, and then he died and didn't finish it. I think he did like 17 chapters, and there was supposed to be 31.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's correct. And they sort of finished it based on his notes, the draft that you can read.
Now, I saw the pilot for The Last Tycoon, I believe, in the 20th century. It was made, it was on Amazon.
Yeah, oh
and
yeah,
then
exactly. I know.
Time went by.
I know. So much time.
Time went by.
So much time.
So what was happening with it before?
Well, Amazon has this great diplomatic process. You know, it is very 21st century, where you make a pilot, and the viewership of the site is allowed to vote on it and decide if they want that to turn into a series or not.
The public is allowed to vote?
The public is allowed to vote, yeah.
Well, it came out in your favor then.
It did, thankfully, yes. And so there's a waiting period for that. And then it's a big production, you know. We have a lot of incredible... Patrizia von Brandenstein, who did Amadeus, did the production design, and Janie Bryant from Mad Men did the costumes, and so it was a lot. You know, it's a big production to put together.
Well, there's I mean, the Mad Men is the 50s, and it's this, but this has the same kind of affect. We're watching people dressing spectacularly well in a Hollywood background with what's going on.
Yeah.
And yet underneath, things are festering.
Yes, it is the golden age of Hollywood. You know, you're getting to see the machinations behind the scenes of the studio system. And at the same time, it's 1936. We're at the height of the Great Depression. You know, Germany, Italy, Japan are all on the move. The Spanish Civil War is going on. So around the world, I mean, it's just a very tumultuous time.
Hitler is moving in.
Hitler's moving in, and here, everybody in America, at the height of the Depression, everybody goes right to the movies. That's what they want to do. So we get to see a lot of that, the whole holistic view of the world at the time, and also, you know, the demons these people struggle with. One of the themes, as you know, in F. Scott's writing is at what cost the American dream? What does it cost people to pursue this dream? And you definitely, as the series progresses, get to see a lot of the skeletons in their closet and a lot of the relationships and things they've sacrificed and had to put aside in order to go from Milton Sternberg from the Bronx to Monroe Starr, Hollywood wunderkind.
Milton Sternberg from the Bronx.
Yeah.
And Kelsey Grammer, who plays
Pat
the
Brady.
head of the studio, Pat Brady, yes, also has that background.
Yeah.
So we have immigration, we have the threat of a major war. We have the money people beginning to take over the studio. So
having to cater to foreign markets.
Exactly. So this is so old hat. We don't have any of this anymore.
No, I think that's one of the fun things about the show is that I realized as we were going on how much social commentary we were able to we were able to bring into the show, and how sadly so much hasn't changed, and thankfully some things have.
Well, I mean, Fitzgerald based Monroe Starr on Irving Thalberg, who was at the time called the Boy Wonder. This was the guy who seemed to have the magic formula for everything he touched. You know, but I think what Kelsey Grammer's character says to you at one time, he's like a velvet jackhammer underneath doing that. You know.
Yeah.
Is that in you, Matt?
Well,
Do we
I think
see a
as an
velvet jack? inside of you? Is
I
that
have,
how you
I have
control
my
the
moments.
set?
I have my. I don't know if I try to control any set I'm on, but I definitely have my moments. I think as artists, we all struggle with the debate of art versus commerce, and that's really what my character, Monroe and Pat Brady, that's really the nature of their relationship. He wanting to maintain a very commercial aspect of the studio system in play, and my character wanting to try to bring some art and culture into the world. And trying to, achieve some type of immortality in the very limited time he knows he has with his heart condition. So, yeah, as an actor, those were things I was weighing out in my head when I got the call from Billy Ray. So it just seemed like, I guess, about once a year I have an existential meltdown about art versus commerce. So.
Do you really? Yeah, because
Yeah.
but it's still the way the world runs.
It's just the way it goes.
If you can have both of them.
Yeah,
it's
and
that
some artists
miracle
get
thing.
to. Yeah.
You live happily in Los Angeles. Your husband, Simon Halls, I know really well.
Oh, great.
3 kids.
Yeah.
So it has to be something for you that says, I'm going to do this
for
a 9-hour miniseries.
Yes, 9 hours.
And
period.
maybe more, even.
Yeah, it's different things depending on the project. It can be something that thematically I relate to. It can be the filmmaker involved. It can be the script. It can be whether or not I feel like it's an important story to put out into the world, whether 3 people see it or 100,000 people see it or 1 million people see it. So it's always a different thing. But I think what, as an artist, there's so much, I mean, my gosh, more than ever, so much distraction out there as to what you should do and shouldn't do, and social media and all these other things going on, that it's a struggle to really stay in touch with your intuition as an artist. And that's, something that I try to do.
Because you live this kind of Monroe star life, in the sense you're not running a studio, but it's Hollywood. You're married to somebody who is in the business. So when you're at home and you're with 3 kids, how old are they now?
Our oldest is 12 and the twins are 9.
The
all
twins
boys.
are 9, all boys.
Yeah.
Do you try to keep all that work away from them?
Yes. We very much separate church and state. And I think hopefully a healthy way. But I've also been privy, just in terms of thinking about Monroe. I've been in these social situations where I'll see an eminence mob come and whisper something in a very powerful person's ear, and them sort of nod gravely, and I know some high stakes Hollywood decision has just been made. So I've borne witness to a few of those things. But yeah, at home we really try to keep it about our family, and I try to keep all that stuff kind of cordoned off to my office out back, and then just be a parent and a
Well, are the
husband.
boys aware? I mean, when Magic Mike was out there, nothing but Magic Mike posters.
Yes.
Of you naked. How could they avoid it? It would be on the buses that would pass them on
yeah.
the way to school.
Look, for better or for worse, there were billboards on the way to their school. You know how insidious the marketing for any project, if you're lucky, is in Los Angeles. So they definitely noticed, and we had a lot of conversations that were hopefully age appropriate, and they like to mock my positions on billboards and things like that. And
That's healthy then. Yeah.
yeah, and we always try to take a picture next to one, and they just took, I guess there's one for the Last Tycoon up on Sunset in LA, so they just sent me a picture of them in front of that, and thankfully
That's
I'm
cute.
clothed, and
You are.
It's a pose I don't mind them emulating, and
It's either be the Last Tycoon or Ken in Magic Mike to do that.
but listen, what a blessing to get to do both.
I don't know. It's because we were talking a little bit before what a fan I was of White Collar, your series, because I miss it all the time. I miss you and Maz together, especially. I'll wake up sometime and say, what are Neil and Maz cooking up? Is he going to be in?
This is so surreal for me right now.
What are they doing? How could
I
you have
wondered
left
the
that
same
show?
thing.
Was it your ego and you just said no more TV?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't my choice at all. We had gone
I don't know if
6
I'm buying
seasons.
this now.
No, truly, I hand to heart, it wasn't my choice. We'd gone 6 seasons. We'd gotten syndication, and I think the network had decided they were sort of moving out of a Blue Skies type of network to more of a Mr. Robot, a little darker, edgier network, and we were a studio that was not affiliated with the network, and I think we were one of the first casualties of that. But we got a great run out of it, and It was, creatively, ensemble-wise, the greatest experience I've ever had.
I think what your performance in The Normal Heart is one of the best things I've seen.
Oh,
it's a
thank you.
television. Ryan Murphy put it together for that.
Yeah.
But it's as good and strong a piece of material as I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
And you have a pivotal role in that movie. People concentrate a lot about the fact that you lost 40 pounds to play this man dying of AIDS. But there's way more to it than that. It's a life being sucked away.
Yeah, yeah.
What was the genesis of you doing that?
Well, I had been a huge fan of Larry Kramer's, since I was a preteen, or no, early teenager. I'd started reading his work when I was in high school, and I was living in semi-rural Texas at the time, and no one was talking about AIDS
I would
or
think
anything
they're
going
probably
on.
not even talking about Larry Kramer
No,
or anything.
not at all. I just somehow got we had a great theater teacher, and I got my hands on a copy of The Destiny of Me, which is another play he did, and I thought, oh my, what is going on in the world around me? And then I started working in the professional theater when I was a senior in high school, and this is, mid-90s, mid to late 90s, right as AZT was coming out, and so my friends were experiencing this and going through this, and so when I saw the play when it came to Broadway, was so moved. When I heard that Ryan was doing it, I reached out to him. I said, listen, I'll be a waiter in the background of a restaurant scene in this movie. I've loved this piece for so long. I will literally just walk across. I want to be in it. And we had a meeting. He saw something in me, and initially it was a film, actually. And when I heard that it was moving to HBO, I just thought, this is the best possible outlet for this, because the marketing will be there. It'll have the best outreach. It'll have more of a life in that way. And it was just, such a huge responsibility to be any part of that story, and something that you take on, and I wanted to do whatever it took, even if I was risking my health or anything. I wanted to be able to tell that story as truthfully as I possibly could. I felt a responsibility to.
Was this about the time that you came out publicly as gay? Was it just before then?
No, it was actually much after, a few years after. I think I came out in 2000, whatever you called. I mean, I acknowledged my family and all that.
Right.
I wasn't like.
No, I meant if it's not
But
on
yeah, that
social
was
media,
yeah.
I'm sorry, it doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Yeah. No.
So that was 2012, and I guess this came out in 2014, I want to say. So a couple years after, yeah.
And did it change your life or career in any way when you did it?
Yes and no. I think, you can't listen, the important thing for me was to acknowledge who I am, and to make sure my family and Simon weren't feeling like they were swept under some kind of rug and had to hide in the shadows while I went and did whatever I do as an actor. I wanted to know that they were loved and acknowledged, and that I was proud to be who I am.
What about in Texas?
At the same
though?
time, just
what
be an
about
actor.
parents in Texas? It
Well,
can't be easy
listen,
there.
I have amazing parents, and who I've had such a dream scenario. It wasn't always that way. There were really, really difficult times, and eventually I think they realized that love is the most important thing we can give to one another, whatever we believe, whatever our religions tell us, and so we're so fortunate now that they're incredible grandparents to the kids, very active in our lives, and but yeah, there was certainly a great deal of
It's kind of a
hardships.
good message for people, because a lot of very young kids worry about that.
Yeah.
Worry whether they're just going to miss out or be cut off from something.
And I think everybody has to do it when they're ready to do it. You can't just do it and then just, everyone knows it's a subjective thing. I don't hold any judgment. I have a lot of friends who are actors who don't acknowledge it, and I'm totally, I get it. I'm completely fine with that. But I think it has to be when you're ready, and I am very thankful, and one of the reasons I do talk about it, and I do talk about my family, is that I want kids. I wish someone had said that to me when I was 15 years old in Spring, Texas, that it can be okay and your family can love you regardless. And I don't mean to prescribe that and say that it's going to be everybody's situation, but there is hope.
Well, I mean, even besides sexuality of doing it, you're living in Texas and saying, you know what, I'm going to be an actor. And you were interested in the theater.
Yeah.
What was the first thing you did on stage?
The first thing, the first play I ever did was Picnic by William Inge when I was 14 or something, way too young to be doing that play. But
Was it a high school version?
Yeah,
of
it was a high
Picnic?
school production. My first professional production was A Streetcar Named Desire at the Alley Theater in Houston.
Oh, well, that's so much easier.
Yeah, so much
The
easier.
Streetcar
That's
Junior.
cake. Yeah,
Yes,
Streetcar
let's
Junior.
just do that.
And with Michael Wilson directing. And then once I got out of college, the first play I did the very first workshop of Spring Awakening
Really?
with Michael Mayer and Duncan Sheik and all those folks at Sundance Theater Lab.
And so that was, you were bitten by that. And
Yeah.
then you were kind of, what made you get swept out of that into television and movies?
9/11, basically.
How is that?
I had gotten a Broadway show called Thoroughly Modern Millie, and we were waiting a long time. You know, when you get a show, you have to get the right house for the show. You don't want to be in a huge theater if ticket sales are expected to be middling or whatever. So we were waiting a long time. I was bellman at a hotel here. 9/11 happened.
That's a good job.
Yeah, no, it was a
Bellman,
great,
yeah,
it was a
right,
great
yeah.
gig. I was doing that and waiting tables at the same time while I waited on this Broadway show. And after 9/11, you know, people stopped coming to Manhattan. So people in the service industry got laid off in droves and went on seniority. I'd only been in New York a year at the time. And a casting director from a soap opera had said, you know, hey, you know, if you ever want to do a soap, let me know. Wasn't anything I thought I'd do, but he had a role, and he said, you're not really right for it, but you can come in and try. And for whatever reason, they mercifully cast me.
What was this?
It was called Guiding Light.
Guiding
Yeah,
Light.
it was a really great experience. It was like getting paid to go to graduate school. I was there for just over a year, and
Well, it's like being thrown out
oh my
every
gosh,
day.
you were shot out of a cannon. I mean, the storyline was so wacky
What did you
and crazy.
play?
I played a trust fund baby who bet that his friends that he could be the first to deflower the town virgin. Then that goes awry, but of course he falls in love with her, and she finds out about it, dumps him. He meets another girl, loses his trust fund, and turns to the only source of income any logical person can turn to, which is male prostitution.
Well, of course.
So he's doing that on the side. She finds out about it, dumps him. He goes crazy, kills 5 people, and then confesses to her about his high school female teacher sexually abusing him as a kid, and that's why he's so crazy. And then I committed suicide by injecting myself with a syringe full of insulin, and then hung on 1 extra day in the hospital to ask for forgiveness for all my sins.
So you had a forgiveness speech.
I had a big forgiveness speech, and I remember one of the most epic moments was when the writers came up to me at the end of my time there after all this, after I've just died, and go, if you ever want to come back,
Well, of course.
we've got it all figured out. And I just thought, how? How could that be possible? But it was a great time. When I started that gig, I was shaking to be on camera. And by the end, they'd be like, listen, we're not going to be able to rehearse on camera. If you can do that monologue downstage, cry out of your downstage eye on this line on camera 2, that'd be amazing. In 5, 4, 3. It's like, yeah. And so then you're just crying out of fear.
And you're never nervous again. I bet. Well, come on.
Well, I mean, no, I still definitely have my moments of nerves, but I don't think I'll ever have the kind of nerves I had when I first started that job, because you rehearse once in the morning and you get 1 take. That's it.
Now, Matt, this is the first time you've been on the show.
Yeah.
So you don't know we always end in song.
Oh, yes.
Just a tiny bit of song.
Do I sing it? Do I pick a song?
Yeah, I don't pick it. I would be terrible if I did that. Although, you do D'Angelo when you were in...
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
They were nice enough to let me cover
do
a couple of songs in that
Right.
soundtrack. Well, my karaoke standby, it's a little early in the morning. If I want to go down, if I want a stool song, I go Desperado.
Come on.
God, this is crazy.
Come on, pretend it's midnight.
All right, it's midnight.
Yeah.
Desperado, why don't you come to your senses? You've been out riding fences for so long now. Oh, you're a hard one, but I know that you got your reasons. These things that are pleasing you can hurt you somehow.
It's a little Monroe Star. If I was going to define him, it would be
There's a
Desperado.
Monroe Star. Thank you.
Anyway, Matt, it's
Full
been
circle.
a pleasure to meet you.
It's
and
an
to talk
honor,
to you.
sir.
It
Thank
really
you.
was.